Greetings. Welcome back to my channel, Ham Radio Test and Review. My name is Dave. I live in Prescott, Arizona, and my call sign is N8DAV. I also have a motto: one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. Today's video is going to start a very short sub-series of the Stubby HT antennas that we have been working on testing and reviewing here. These short, stubby, flexible antennas have a place in the amateur radio hobby for the HTs, whereby, if you are very hard on your radios, you drop them, you bang them up against things, you use them a lot, these soft, pliable antennas might actually be the right thing for you for your HT. The small, normal, stubby antennas are very hard plastic, and they can be broken easily if you bang them up against something hard. So let me come back in a few seconds, and I will get started on the first one in the series of short, soft, stubby antennas. The first one we're doing today is from Abbree. Now, as you know, Abbree makes some very inexpensive antennas, but they also make some pretty good antennas. They've done knockoffs of some of the Nagoyas, and they've done a pretty good job of it, and the price on them are usually pretty good. So I'm not saying that they're the worst company in the world, but they're certainly not the best company in the world. So this first Abbree, this first short, stubby, soft antenna is it's got a BNC connector, but here's the thing: it's orange. First of all, I kind of like the orange. It goes good with some of the radios, especially the black ones. But as you can see, it's very flexible. And I know you guys were all waiting for me to do that. Anyway, it's got the nice BNC connector on the bottom. I've tried to standardize, as you know, on BNC connectors for all my HTs. The package that comes in it, or comes with it, is just a plain green package. They're not trying to copy Nagoya or anything like that. So, but the green copies Nagoya. Anyway, they don't have a model number or anything on it. I had to make sure that I kept track of the model number through the ad on Amazon that I bought it from. And by the way, it came from China. It didn't come directly from a warehouse here in the United States, which was very unusual. It took quite a while to get here. Price on it was very good, and I'll get into that in just a minute. So I'm going to come back now with the specifications here. The model number of this Abbree antenna is the ST-20. It is a tube band, specified as 2 meter and 70 centimeter. The length of it is 2 5/8 inches long. It's soft, flexible rubber, very, very soft. It has a BNC male connector. It's specified as being a 50 ohm antenna and having an SWR of less than 1.5. It also is specified as being a maximum of 10 watts that you can put into it. And also, it is no longer available on Amazon. Now, I don't know why this happened. It wasn't available originally directly from Abbree when I bought it. So it seems to me they may have made a bunch of them, didn't sell well. When they sold out, they stopped, or maybe they made a short run of them and tried selling them, didn't work very well, whatever. It did come from a different company somewhere in China that sells them on Amazon, but now are no longer available. I did pay $9.99 for it though, which is a little bit more than what you can get the black ones for. I believe the black ones are $8.99. I could be wrong about that, but the last time I looked, it was about the same price anyway. So that's it as far as the specifications are concerned. I will tell you that these really soft, flexible antennas, there's several of them on Amazon. There's several of them on AliExpress, and they're basically all the same. The only one that I noticed that was any different was the Nagoya NA810, which I will be testing and reviewing later in this series. So anyway, kick back, relax, and let's get started on getting the testing done. All right, first up, our very first test, we're going to be testing SWR of the Abbree ST-20 soft rubber stubby antenna on the 2 meter band. And we come up with 1.50. at 6.60 watts. Next test of the Abbree ST-20 soft rubber stubby antenna is on the 70 centimeter frequency. And we get an SWR of 2.14, power of 3.57. Okay, we're back. Also, just so you know, the antenna was not specified as being able to work on the 1.25 meter band, therefore we will not be testing it on that band. However, I do know that I got a lot of GMRS fans out there, so everybody wants me to test on the GMRS band, so here it is on channel 16. And we have an SWR of 2.10 and a power output of 2.99. Okay, I've hooked up the Nano VNA to analyze the specifics of the antenna. When I turn it on, we're going to see for the first time the curve of the 2 meter band. So, looks very interesting. Pause the sweep. Let's see where the SWR is at the center of the band. And at the center of the band, we're at 1.628. And it actually goes even a little bit lower at the higher end of the band. So at 146 megahertz, we're at 1.628. That's pretty darn good. All right, next up, we're going to test on the 70 centimeter band. Very odd curve. And let's see what it is at the center. So at 435 megahertz, we're at 1.717. And last but not least, for all my GMRS fans out there, we are going to test on the GMRS band. And as we can see here, at 465 megahertz, we're at 2.294. All right, we're back. We're going to be doing the field strength meter testing. The field strength meter is going to give me an idea of how strong the signal is coming from the radio at a preset distance with a preset sensitivity on the meter itself. So the first test we're going to do is on the 2 meter band. All right, here we go with field strength meter test on the 70 centimeter band. And last but not least, field strength meter test on the GMRS channel 16. All right, I'm out here at the park. This is where I'm going to be testing how well the Abbree ST-20 soft rubber stubby antenna gets into my repeater at my base station. And as you can tell, it is very, very windy out here today. So I'm going to try and wrap this up as quickly as I possibly can before my camera falls down. So I'll be right back in just a minute. So I have my trusty Baofeng UV17 Pro GPS here with the Abbree stubby antenna, the highly soft rubberized ST-20 antenna, and I'm going to try testing it right now. This is NADAV, testing 1, 2, 3 to the Abbree stubby ST-20 antenna. Well, as you can tell, there's just too much wind out here. Let me see if I can find a little bit of shelter. I know it's not going to be an exact test like the others because I try to do it from the same exact spot every single time. So let's see what I can do. So it's so windy out here. There's no way this test is going to be valid in any way, shape, form, or manner. So I decided just to try it here inside my Faraday cage, normally known as my SUV, and let's see what happens. This is NADAV. I'm testing the Abbree ST-20 highly rubberized and soft antenna. This is NADAV. I'm testing the Abbree ST-20 highly rubberized and soft antenna. Well, as you can hear with that, we are getting in there pretty quiet. This antenna actually is doing a pretty good job. Now, I am about 150 feet closer to my base station, and I don't have that going around that extra 150 feet also means that I don't have an outbuilding between me and the antenna like I would normally have. Unfortunately, with all the wind, there's just nothing else that I could really do. So I apologize for that, but listen, let's get back to the ham shack and let's go over all the results and see what we've come up with. So what did we learn today from doing all the testing on this Abbree ST-20 soft rubber stubby antenna? Well, first of all, again, I always have to say, let me get this mic back up here. You know, these any antenna that is not cut to a quarter wave, half wave, whatever, is compromised from the very beginning. You know, you have to use a coil, and the coil absorbs the energy, and of course, being so short, you don't have a lot of area to radiate or to receive from or to. So the short stubby antennas are highly compromised. They are very limited in distance and in performance. So it's just something you always have to take into consideration. So with that said, we did two different types of SWR testing. First with the SWR power meter. I will tell you that when I first started the testing this morning, it wasn't working, and it's because I had a cable go bad on me. So that does happen. It happens somewhat irregularly, but when it does happen, you've got to have spares. So I'm just letting you know, guys, if you're going to have jumper cables, always get a spare. So with the SWR today, I was really actually rather surprised. The Now, normally, any kind of a compromised antenna is usually tuned either for the 2-meter band or for the 70-centimeter band. And in most cases, they're usually tuned for the 70-centimeter band. But in this particular case, I feel that this antenna was really tuned for the 2-meter band because the SWR, using the standard SWR meter under power, was 1.5 on the 2-meter band, which actually is rather good for such a tiny compromised antenna. On the 70-centimeter band, it was 2.14, and on the GMRS band, it was 2.10, which even though it's over 2, and usually over 2 is unacceptable, for HT antennas, I think anything 3 and over is unacceptable. So if you've got a SWR of 2, 2.5, whatever on an HT antenna, it's actually rather good for a compromised antenna like that. Now, we put it on the Nano VNA, and the Nano VNA pretty much verified the results of the power meter. The Nano VNA showed 1.628 on the 2-meter band, 1.717 on the 70-centimeter band, and that's at the center of the 70-centimeter band. If you recall, the curve was just wonky as all heck, and it could be much lower, it could be much higher, depending upon where in the curve you're at. And then on the GMRS band, it had a pretty decent curve, and it was 2.294. So, you know, I think that kind of verifies that the antenna was tuned for the 2-meter band originally. So anyway, those results actually are pretty good. And then with the field strength meter, we ended up with 3.1 dBm on the 2-meter band, 1.9 on the 70-centimeter band, and 0.2 on the GMRS band. Now, how does that compare to some of the other tests that we've done? Actually quite favorable. It turns out the power output to the field strength meter was actually much better on the 2-meter band, but it was just average, maybe a little bit below average on the 70 centimeter, and definitely below average on the GMRS bands. So that just goes to show you, and unless you do the testing, you don't know. One test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. The antenna tests that I did, the real world field strength, or the real world modulation test that I did to my base station antenna. Again, I'm sorry, but the wind was just way too hard today. We're expecting 40, 50 mile an hour winds out here. I am worried about my HF antenna today. Anyway, besides the fact that the wind was blowing so hard, I walked 150 feet into my truck, which is kind of like a Faraday cage, and I did transmit from inside there, and it was actually rather quiet. So it's not a complete apples to apples comparative test, but it was a good test. It actually worked pretty well, and I used the 2-meter band, by the way, for these tests. So I think this antenna is actually rather good, especially on the 2-meter band. So something you guys might want to keep into consideration. Again, these little stubby antennas, most of them are made out of hard plastic. You bang them against something, you're going to break them. But these soft rubber stubby antennas, actually pretty unbreakable. So one thing I do want to tell you, though, that I have been doing some extreme testing with some of the other soft rubber antennas, and I've been putting them on an 8-watt radio, and they get warm, and they get warm very fast, and they get very, very warm. So I don't know if that's good or bad or indifferent, especially when the ones that are specified for 10 watts, they shouldn't be getting that warm on an antenna that's rated at 10 watts, and I'm only putting 6 to 8 watts into them. So something to also take into consideration. Anyway, my name is Dave. I live in Prescott, Arizona. My call sign is N8DAV. My motto is, one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, I hope that you will subscribe and click on the bell so you can see all the rest of my videos that I've got coming up. Anyway, saying 73s to you, and so long.